Ring Around the Redhead, a story that seems to shove every single genre you could possibly think of, from drama to horror to fantasy, into one 22-minute episode, and I think it does a pretty good job. It even features a voiceover from a death row inmate to help move the story along and explain the parts that the budget doesn't allow them to show. This is episode 3 of season 2 of Tales from the Darkside. Already we can see season 2 is starting to pick up. After a somewhat lackluster first episode, Life Bomb in this one, I think, get things set at a little of a higher standard. So our main character is Billy Malone, and he's talking to a journalist right before he's about to be executed for the murder of his friend. He narrates the story, but this actually flows pretty well, as opposed to another episode we covered earlier, Digin No Chaser, where you have a guy at a mental institution shouting at the camera randomly. So they do a little bit of telling, but they also show you parts as well. It's not a complete narration. And already things start out with a bang, like a volcanic bang. They don't waste 10 minutes trying to do some setup. No, at minute 2, we see that this gigantic volcano pops up into Billy Malone's workshop. This is going back into the past before he got put on death row, and explaining how he ended up in this prison. So Billy Malone, who is a lonely single guy working at his workshop, looks into this volcanic cavern that has just sprung up right in his house, and notices there is a ring, and he begins to literally go fishing. He starts throwing a line down this ring and seeing what he can catch. Well, he does catch a few things. He catches a ruby, which he shows to his friend. His friend is very intrigued by this expensive ruby he was able to fish out of this volcano, and encourages him to keep doing it. His friend is more concentrated on the amount of money they're going to make, whereas Billy himself seems to just be fishing for anything. He catches another gold artifact, and then what does he get? Well, out of nowhere, a little cutie pops out. A girl from another dimension who seems to be sent just for him, the single lonely guy. She's a little younger, but that's okay. Billy doesn't mind. However, she doesn't speak English, so they do this quite fast, but they show how he walks her through the English language and helps her to learn how to speak. And you can already see he's taking a bit of a liking to her. He wants to be more than just her teacher.
Boat.
Bird.
Pretty fast, aren't you?
Fish?
Yeah.
Pony?
Yes.
Hip? Hip hop? Hip hop anonymous? Damn you! You gave him the easy ones!
So we see this little kind of nice love affair blossom, but it gets kind of shuttled as his friend comes back into the picture and takes the ring from him, because his friend wants money. They found some rubies, they found some artifacts, and he wants to see what else he could fish out of this ring. So he takes the ring and just runs off with it. All the while, Billy is just looking for love. He's not interested in money. Well, maybe a little interested in money. So I like the fact that this isn't just a complete love story. While that is kind of the main focus of the episode, there are some kind of elements where the friend pulls out someone's arm. They don't show it, but they explain it. That he pulls out someone's arm from another dimension, rips their arm off, and sees some other scary images in this ring. That's kind of why they had to do the voiceover, because they're trying to explain that this ring is pulling out all these crazy things from another dimension, but they just don't have the budget to show that. So he has to kind of explain in this voiceover from death row.
Stop him.
I am through with it. Take the damn ring. Something happened. I tried to get rid of it, and it doesn't burn, and you can't break it. The thing just sits there.
But I actually think the chemistry between the Redhead, Keena, and Billy is actually pretty good. It's a very kind of PG-rated romance, but I think it works well this way. After all, she just learned how to speak English. Keena is played by Penelope Ann Miller, who plays kind of an innocent girl here, but she was a bit of a naughty girl in some other movies, like she was Gail in Carlita's Way, Joyce in Kindergarten Cop, and even Brenda in The Wild Adventures in Babysitting. That's a blast from the past. So at this point, we learn how he got onto death row. His friend comes panicking at him, telling him to take this ring. This ring's after him. Really, it seems like he was screwing with the ring, trying to get gold, and maybe brought a few monsters into this universe. And then the ring kills his friend with this dark cloud that descends upon him. Once again, they don't exactly show this. He has to narrate this and explain what happens, but it seems like some ethereal forces and monsters from the netherworld came and got him because he was messing with this ring too much, trying to get money from it, and fishing a little too deeply. The cops think Billy Malone did it. After all, this force that killed his friend apparently left parts of his skull and brain all over the front lawn of Billy Malone's house. A hard thing to try to explain away. The DNA all points towards Billy, and it's hard to explain to the cops. It was the ring that did it. It was the monsters from the ring. That doesn't work. So that's how he got on death row. And this actually has a nice ending. As he's narrating this story, they're walking him down to the electric chair. They strap him in to literally execute him, and he gets saved by Kina, who comes back and saves him. They hinted earlier she has some kind of magical powers. She seems to be able to make things appear and disappear and move objects with her mind. Well, in this case, she makes him disappear, and they disappear together and go into her world. A world we never see, but we assume it's all lollipops and gumdrops. She says there's no violence in her world, so I guess that sounds a little better than this one. So I'm going to give Ring Around the Redhead another 6. I gave Life Bomb a 6. I'm going to give this one a 6. It doesn't have the best of reviews or the highest rating, but it's an episode that I actually think is pretty good. And once again, an original concept. We had that with Life Bomb too. The execution on these Tales from the Darkside episodes is off in some ways, but this is just a really great idea. Of course, it's playing on kind of parallel universes or alternate universes. As I said before, it kind of reminds me of a Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch in the Wardrobe. Step into the wardrobe, go into Narnia, get out of the wardrobe, you're back in the real world. And there's an innocent chemistry between Kiana and Billy. And enough of an edge. Doesn't feel like a House on the Prairie episode, because there are parts of it that are a little bit sappy, but there's always a little bit of an edge to it where you don't exactly know what's going to come out of this ring that's a portal to another world. Since she describes her world as nice and there's no violence, but apparently if you piss them off enough, they're going to send an evil cloud to crush your skull. So I guess don't mess with them. Maybe they're pacifists until you try to steal their gold or something. This is another one that I wish was longer, and I really think is a smart concept and pretty well executed here. I also like the idea of a volcano just popping up out of nowhere. They could have just had a ring on the floor. That would have been an easier way to do it. But no, they have this gigantic volcano that just sits there in his room the entire episode, and they walk around it, and it's always kind of puffing out this smoke. The episode was written and directed by Theodore Gershony, who we've seen many times. We'll see him 6 times in Tales from the Darkside, and he also wrote the story for 2 episodes of Monsters that I covered previously, Holly's House, and the episode Museum Hearts, 2 really good episodes. So he's pretty talented. And he's best known for writing the script for the influential slasher movie in 1972's Silent Night, Bloody Night. But really, none of that matters, because his real claim to fame is a softcore porn movie he made called Sugar Cookies. Well, he directed it. The guy from Troma, Lloyd Kaufman, wrote it. And I would play the trailer, but because it is up there, but wow, I could play no part of that trailer. So check it out, or don't. Well, I'm not going to check it out. Anyways, next up is episode 4, Parlor Floor Front. An episode that deals with voodoo and a man that just can't get out of his apartment. Check out our playlist for all the episodes of Season 1 of Tales from the Darkside in order, and the entire Monster series and Half of Fear itself. See you in a few days.